You're listening to a podcast dedicated to all of Andrew McMahon's music. Today, we're going to discuss a song that feels very well loved by Andrew fans, both old and new. My name's Steve, and today, our returning guest is here to discuss a song that appears in the soundtrack to her brand new book. Author Hazel Jacks has written 3 books now in her Fire Island series. We spoke to her last year about her book Solitaire and Return to Solitaire, and how the music of Jack's Mannequin and Something Corporate inspired her stories. Her latest book in the series, Surf Road, is a spin-off focusing on 2 side characters from her first 2 stories. And today we're focusing on a Something Corporate song that she references in the new book. So Hazel, welcome back to the show.
Thanks for having me, Steve. Nice to be back.
Yeah, thank you so much. I'm excited because your new book just came out last month, and we're talking about a song that I know a lot of fans love, and I want to hear about both. But first I want to start with, it was so great to meet you and your husband out in Vegas a couple of months ago. We got to see the show together and actually see the song that we're going to talk about today performed live in the same room.
That was pretty awesome.
Yeah, that was fun. Singing along to every word, and just there's so much energy in the room total. But we'll definitely talk more about that. But thanks for joining the show again. So tell us about the new book. Tell us about Surf Road. What's it about, and how does it tie back to the previous books? Was I right that it's a spin-off with 2 characters from the original? Is that right?
Right, that's correct. So yeah, the main male character in this book was a side character in the first 2. And this is kind of his story and his love story.
Mm-hmm.
And, he's the driver of a car that gets in an accident. And so this sort of follows him on his healing journey from that traumatic event. And then the main female character, she's undergone a prophylactic double mastectomy. And so she's got a lot of accepting her body as it is now and
Mm-hmm.
really trying to find beauty within. And that's really the journey that she's on in the book. It came out back in December. It's actually set in the winter on Fire Island. So there's a lot of snow, a lot of cold, and pipes burst in her rental house, and she has to move in with him and goes from there.
Okay, so yeah, a different atmosphere than the other 2 Fire Island books that took place in the summer on the island.
Right.
It sounds like some similar themes, like a traumatic event and accepting your body for what it is, and that sort of thing. So, well, I'm excited to read it because I've read the other 2, and I have not read the new one yet. Thanks for giving me a little sneak preview. And it sounds to me, from what I know, that this takes place after your first book, Solitaire, but before Return to Solitaire.
This book is set in 2012.
Mm-hmm.
So book 1 is 2004, book 2 is about 2014, and then
Mm-hmm.
this book is 2012, so a couple years earlier.
And some good music on the soundtracks of all 3, and we'll come back to that point a little bit later when we talk about the music, and we'll actually talk about some other songs that I saw on the soundtrack there too. So the song we're talking about today, though, it was a unique find for me personally, and I'm going to tell you why. So this song, honestly, was not on my radar at all until recent years. My wife and I saw Jack's Mannequin back in 2011 in Dayton, Ohio, and she was like 5 months pregnant with our first daughter, and it was about 6 months before People and Things came out. I'm not even sure if I knew at the time there was a new album coming, so they were playing songs off of Everything in Transit and The Glass Passenger, a nice mix of both, but I recognized almost every song they played that night. But when they played this next song we're going to talk about, I assumed it was a brand new Jack's Mannequin song. And I don't know what Andrew or someone in the band said, I don't remember that moment, but someone must have said something to make me want to record the song. And back in 2011, I didn't have a good enough phone to record, but I did have this like little flip, this thing called a flip, and it's like a portable video camera that's about the size of like a Nokia phone. Did you have one of those?
Yes, I did. And
Okay.
you would turn it like this, and then the screen would kind of pop up, maybe not.
No, this was like it was shaped, it was just like a rectangular thing that was about the size of like a phone, like a Nokia phone. And the only thing that did flip out is the USB port. So like to charge it and get your videos,
Yes.
you'd flip it
Yes.
out and then plug it into your computer.
I actually had one. Yes, I do
Okay.
remember that.
So I brought that with me thinking, ooh, cool, I could actually take video to concert. Nobody's going to know because, again, this is like Smartphones were obviously available, but like I didn't have a good enough one to take video. It was the very first concert video I think I ever took. And again, something told me that I should take video. So I took video of this song and I was like, cool, New Jack's Mannequin song. I'm like the first person to capture it, right? Well, ironically, it was not a Jack's Mannequin song. It was apparently a song other fans knew that I just didn't. And the song was Watch the Sky, not by Jack's Mannequin, but by something corporate. Here's the kicker. Back in 2011, I still didn't know the song. I don't know how I missed it. I recorded it, and I kind of put the video away with the rest of my video files, with like my daughter's baby videos from that year, right? So that's kind of where it still lives. I did put it on YouTube recently, so anybody's welcome to go check that out. But the band we're talking about today is actually something corporate. The song I found out was originally released as track 13 on the UK version of North. I don't know if fans actually, like American fans, actually knew this song was a something corporate song back in 2003. Did you know that, Hazel?
Nope. No, I had no clue. When in your notes when you were talking, it said, "Did I first hear this in North in 2003?" And I was like, "Well, I'm a horrible fan because I did not know that this was a song on North." So no, I did not.
Isn't it funny? It makes us feel like a bad fan. I felt the same way. I was like, how could I have not known that? Come on, I have a podcast about the guy. That's how I feel sometimes with these, these things that feel like common knowledge. Yeah, it was on the UK version, which apparently was released on, according to an eBay listing right now, so take this for what it is. The UK version came out 6 days after North did. So North came out October 21st, 03, and then the UK version was released October 27th, 03. And most of us know this as track 2 on the second disc of Played in Space, which was released April 27th, 2010. And then most recently, it was also on the vinyl release of North that came out in the fall that coincided with the Vegas show. And that was it's track 1 on LP number 3. So then, Hazel, how did you first hear this song?
My story is definitely not nearly as exciting as yours. I honestly don't remember. I wish I had a better memory of hearing songs for the first time. But my guess would be it was probably somewhere in the 2013, 14 timeframe. I don't really have like a great
Like a
piece
specific
to
memory with it.
like a
Yeah.
specific memory or a good story to put around it. But I know I've heard it for a while, but definitely not from the early 2000s.
Again, to be honest, I heard it in 2011, but I didn't really know the song even after that point. So your book takes place in 2012. How did Watch the Sky become part of the Surf Road soundtrack? Or did it inspire the book in any way? Or does it play a part in the book?
So the third book is a little bit different than the first two, where music was such a big part between the two characters.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was trying to do something a little different. I didn't want the characters to be so similar. So
Mm-hmm.
I didn't incorporate music the exact way I did in the first two books. So there aren't references throughout the story. It's really just a playlist at the beginning of songs that give me feelings toward what the book is, or, maybe had some sort of inspiration for the characters. And as I was putting together the playlist, I knew I wanted either a Jack song or something corporate song. It wasn't actually until I was about halfway done writing it that I realized that Watch the Sky was kind of the perfect song for the main male characters, just kind of his life and where he's at. I just felt like it suited him, and
Mm-hmm.
kind of that dark moodiness of the
Yeah.
song kind of suits his personality and like the things he's dealing with in the story, and also like the lyrics as well.
Oh, definitely. From what you've told me about the story so far, I can definitely see how the lyrics pertain to his story. Absolutely.
Right.
Yeah, and I think those lyrics are why a lot of people love this song, why a lot of people identify with this song. Again, I didn't know this song back in 2011 necessarily. It wasn't until probably 2020 when I think Andrew played it on an Instagram live. Yeah, when Andrew played it on an Instagram live stream. And then it was, hey, that song's familiar. I think I have that song recorded from 2011. And it didn't exactly play out like that. I'm kind of paraphrasing everything that happened, but I think I put it all together. I was like, oh, so it was on Played in Space that came out in 2010. I guess I've kind of heard it before when I've played it on Spotify, but I didn't really know it that well. And then I saw him in 2011. There was that unfamiliar song. So I went back to that unfamiliar song and I was like, oh, that was the song. So again, I felt like a bad fan or something, or, that I should know this stuff, but I don't know every single song real well. But I've definitely gotten to know this song a lot better in recent years. You know, Apparently it's been a well-loved B-side for a long time. I am curious to hear from people. So if you're listening and you did know this song since back in 2003, 2004, I'm really interested to hear that because I feel like I was a pretty hardcore fan, but I didn't even know it existed. Like I wasn't looking up the B-sides at that point after North. I guess I didn't even know they were there. There's another song called This Broken Heart on the new North vinyl release that I don't know either. I guess it was like an album track left off the album or something. So
I'm curious to know who makes these decisions on what songs go on a US album and then, one extra song in the UK. I don't understand it.
I have a little bit of insight that I've learned on that, but I don't have the full picture, and I'm equally curious as to why that would happen, especially with this song. The song was produced by Jim Wirt, features Andrew on piano and vocals, Josh Partington and William Tell on guitars, Kevin Page on the bass, Brian Ireland on the drums. And as we know, I've said this on a few episodes, this song, along with all of North, was recorded in the spring of 2003 at a really famous studio outside of Seattle. And they chose this one, this particular location, so they could isolate themselves from the rest of the world for a couple of months and to make a darker, moodier album up there. Hazel, do you think they succeeded with that? Because I heard you kind of use those adjectives earlier. So you feel like this is
Yeah,
a dark, moody song.
definitely. I do. And maybe when we get later into the lyrics, I kind of feel like this is almost, I don't know if sister song is the right word or
Hmm.
like predecessor song to Swim. And I kind of feel like it's like the dark song that comes before the song Swim. So I don't know. That was something I was just thinking
Yeah.
about as I was getting ready for us to talk. Some of like it talks about ocean and the sea and water and
Hmm.
floating, drowning, and I just kind of liked those similarities between it.
Yeah, I never would have put that in the same boat. So I'll use a metaphor as well as Swim. See what I did there? But I like that. I like when someone shows me that new perspective where you can put these songs into kind of categories because that's the way my brain works too. It's like I kind of want to put these songs together. Like what does this go with? How does this kind of fit into the Andrew McMahon catalog? And so that's interesting, like a prequel or predecessor to Swim. So we'll definitely explore that more. A fellow fan, her name's Yara. She lives in London, I believe, or near London. Years ago, she sent me this article from Alternative Press. And so thank you, Yara, if you're still listening. I appreciate that. So she sent me some fun facts about, she said, hey, whenever you do the Watch the Sky episode, here's some things I know about it. I love this song. I was like, oh, that was really nice of her. But she sent me this Alternative Press article with an Andrew McMahon interview where he talks about why this song didn't make it on North. So here's what I know. Despite the fact that he's described it as one of the best, if not the best, Something Corporate song, and he's also described it as one of his favorite songs he's ever written. So weird, right? Apparently there were too many Andrew written tracks on North, so there was 8 already to Josh's 4 going into laying out the track list, and adding this one more Andrew song that he really loved would have upset the balance even more, and they would have had to put another Josh song on the album. And Andrew didn't think it was worth the argument, and he described it in this article as, quote, the straw that broke the camel's back. So it may have been one of the things that eventually led to SoCo's hiatus, but I'm sure there was more to it. I think it would be really easy as fans to boil that decision of going on hiatus down to like a particular song or a particular moment, but we're all human and we know that. I'm sure there was a lot of build up to that. There was a lot of different things that were going on. What are your thoughts? Have you ever heard any of that before?
No, I haven't heard like specific stuff about the songs or anything.
Mm-hmm.
It's interesting, the balance. And I've always been curious and wondered, why do albums only have, like 12 or 13 songs? I'm like, give us 20, give us everything you got. Like, why hold back? So,
Yeah.
I mean, I'm obviously not in the music industry. I'm sure there's a solid reason for choosing what songs go and what don't. But no, that's a interesting little fact. You've got all the facts, Steve.
Well, and this just goes to show, I do a lot of research for this show, as everybody knows, but this is sometimes my facts come from other places too. Like sometimes the guest brings it, sometimes people randomly email me these things. So I always appreciate when this info comes my way. So I love digging into this stuff. This whole like putting together this story of Andrew's creative life is really fun and interesting to me. And just the little things I can put in there, but other people can contribute as well. I don't know. It's weird to me. Going back to your earlier point, why add it to the UK version, but not to the American version? It doesn't make any sense, right? So I don't know what happened there. I would love to hear more, but I'm sure the point that Josh and Andrew are at now in their lives, they probably don't even care to address it anymore, right? Because they're buddies again, longtime buddies again, and it sounds like it was a sore subject back then. But going back to what you said a minute ago about track listing, I almost always agree with you. I feel the same way almost always. I get annoyed actually. A lot of albums nowadays are 10 tracks, like, and some I've seen some 9 album tracks. It's like, where are the rest of the songs? Come on now.
Right?
But it's just it must be a marketing thing. So coincidentally, Josh did sort of kind of address that when I talked to him back in the fall. He said that there were 14 songs on Leaving Through the Window, and he's like, there really shouldn't have been. That was too many songs for our first album out, and we should have had like 12, maybe 11. And that's when I think I asked him. I was like, I don't remember if I even asked him. So this is bad. I don't remember if I asked him. But he said he would have cut like 1 or 2 if it was up to him.
I remember hearing him say that, and I was like, don't cut, add.
Yeah, I know. It's like, yeah, us fans are like, no, you can't cut any. We need these songs. We need more of these songs. What's kind of cool about discovering tracks like this is it's many, many years later, as I've said, I was able to hear this New Something Corporate song that was very, very good. And in this case, it wasn't a band trying to come back together decades later and record a new song. It just so happened that in my situation, I hadn't really become familiar with it in the past, but I got a new track. So that's always fun to discover. That's happened a couple times with the show. Like, there's been some Jack's Mannequin songs for sure that I didn't know. They're out on YouTube, and you can't get them on Spotify and things like that. I don't know them. This just goes to show I don't know them all, but I do know Watch the Sky now. So I'm really glad that you wanted to talk about this one. Let's talk about the live shows. According to Setlist FM, Watch the Sky has been played live a lot in recent years, particularly the Andrew McMahon in the Wilderness era, obviously. Do you think that this song's gained popularity among the fans in recent years?
Well, I was thinking about that. I don't know if it was your Instagram or the Something Corporate Instagram, like hyping up for the House of Blues show.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody had posted, what song are you hoping to hear? And I remember seeing a lot of Watch the Sky, and I was
Yep.
actually kind of surprised. I didn't realize that there was such like a love or a following for the song.
Mm-hmm. I was sort of surprised as well, but I'd kind of found that, like being on the Facebook group, the fan Facebook group, people mention this song a lot when someone says, what are your favorite songs, or what are songs that you recommend for people who really don't know Something Corporate? This song comes up a lot in those conversations, those chats. So it wasn't shocking when I saw that on Instagram. And it was on my Instagram, so I had asked exactly what you said. What are people most looking forward to hearing? Or maybe it was like, what do you think they're going to play? And yeah, a lot of people said Watch the Sky. I get the impression it's this popular song, but I didn't know about it 10 years ago. I found out Jack's Mannequin played this song for a lot of that tour that I saw them on, that pre-People and Things tour. But that time, according to Setlist FM, was the very last time Jack's Mannequin ever played that song, was in April 2011. Again, on YouTube, you can find the video that I took. It's not a great quality video. It's not bad. Of apparently the last time the Jack's Mannequin lineup ever played it, which I know is very similar, if not the same, to the Andrew McMahon in the Wilderness lineup, but still kind of neat. Here's some numbers for comparison. Like, Andrew McMahon in the Wilderness has played this song 158 times. Andrew McMahon solo 45 times. only 36 times by Something Corporate and 23 by Jack's Mannequin. And again, I think those 23 by Jack's Mannequin were all on the same tour. So it's kind of weird though. Like, I can't remember. Did you see Jack's Mannequin in concert?
No, I never got to see them in concert.
From my memory, they didn't do Something Corporate songs. So this really surprised me to learn this. I mean, I'm sure there was others that they did at different points, but I don't remember them ever doing Something Corporate songs besides this one. It almost appears, and I could have this way off, this is just my opinion, obvious, all of this is just my opinion, is that it almost appears like he gave up on the song for a while. Like he became so distraught about it that he just kind of left it for years. Because if I have my facts straight, I don't think it was played live after 2005 when Something Corporate officially went in hiatus. Then again in 2011, so that's 6 years. And then a couple times sprinkled in when he was solo before the Wilderness. And then the Wilderness era, it's kind of when he brought it back. But again, I've heard him say this is like one of his favorite songs he's ever written. I'm really curious about how that all played out, who brought it back, if it was Andrew who made the decision, like, hey, I love this song, I'm going to play it, or if fans were like, hey, remember Watch the Sky? You should play that. I don't know, or it ended up on Played in Space, so there must have been something to that idea as well. So finally making an appearance on an official American release of a Something Corporate album. But I find it really interesting to dig into all this stuff. So totaled up, that makes for a grand total of 262 times live, which is a pretty high number. Aside from all that, let's talk about the Vegas show, because we got to see this song together in Vegas. Overall opinion, I know we're a few months out now. You've had some time to reflect. What'd you think?
Oh my God. It was amazing. It was everything I could have dreamed. It just, we had perfect, quote unquote seats. We had a perfect view of the stage, and just the energy was amazing. And it was fun because my husband isn't the biggest fan, but he knows how much they mean to me. And
Mm-hmm.
it was kind of nice to have him there because he was sort of the official, had the phone up recording the songs for me. So I could
Mm-hmm.
just jump and sing and dance
Just
and
be present. Yeah.
just be present, but then
Yeah.
still kind of have the memories to look back on some videos. So yeah, it was so fun, and it was so great to get to go with you and your wife and spend some time beforehand hanging out and just getting
Walking the streets of Vegas
what
and the long walk down to the House
Oh
of
my
Blues,
gosh, the
longer
long
than I
walk.
expected.
Oh my gosh, and it was so hot that weekend.
Yeah. My wife says hi, by the way. I forgot to mention that earlier.
Oh, tell her I say hello.
I will. Yeah, I agree with everything you said about the show, and the day. It was such a fun day. Even leading up to it, the excitement leading up to the show, talking about it with you guys, and then getting there. And for you say your husband's not much of a fan. I mean, he looked like he was enjoying himself to me, which is cool. It's always fun when you bring your significant other or even a friend to a show, and you're like, wow, they're kind of enjoying that. So hopefully he enjoyed it. But it was such a great show. Again, perfect view of the stage from where we were standing. I loved that, and the energy was out of this world. I sang along to every single song. That was one of the most excited I've ever been for a concert. Like while I was present, while I was there, and I couldn't believe how much I loved it. Actually, it exceeded my expectations somehow. That was cool to share that experience with you guys. That was special.
That
So thank you
was
for being there with us. So we saw Watch the Sky live. Is that a song that when you go to concerts, Something Corporate or Andrew McMahon more likely, is that a song you hope to hear live? Is this a song you want to hear live when you go?
so by the time we had gone to the concert, I knew that this song was like going to be super important to me for my playlist
Okay.
for the Surf Road.
Uh-huh.
And I remember, so it must have been your Instagram story, and I responded, "Watch this guy. That's the one I want to hear." And
Uh-huh.
when they started, whatever, like the music intro, and I heard
Yeah.
it, I went crazy. I was
Mm-hmm.
so excited to hear it because I mean, I was thinking, well, this isn't a very popular song that they must not play it all that, like
Very cool. And I've heard people complain that they didn't play B-sides or anything like that. I mean, it's a B-side. Watch the Sky is a B-side. No matter how much you know the song, It might be a popular B-side, but it is a B-side and could be considered by a lot as a deep cut, just in the way that a non-fan wouldn't know the song. If you'd never heard a full Something Corporate album, you would not know that song. Again, I feel like it's getting really popular in the set list because I feel like he's played it almost every time I've seen him. So I was fortunate to see Andrew 5 times last year, and that is more than I've ever seen him in a year. But he didn't play it only one of the times, and the reason was because the concert was canceled, so he had to play at a Mexican restaurant acoustically. So he left that one off the set list, understandably. But the rest of the times, I think he played it every time. Ironically, so even though I saw Something Corporate perform Watch the Sky and it was super special, the time that I saw this song live that made me love the song was in Indianapolis last June. He played it just him and a piano, and I was right up by the stage. And for some reason, Watch the Sky was not like near the top of my list of Andrew songs, not near the top of my list in Something Corporate songs prior to this. But when I saw this song performed live on a piano, there was just something about this song that spoke to me. And I think it comes back to the lyrics that we're going to talk about. And hearing him sing so passionately and really having that clear sound of him singing the lyrics, if that makes sense. And so by the time we saw it in Vegas, it was a very special song to me. I don't know that it was prior to last year. This is kind of a new one for me, and it's been exciting to have this kind of this newer Something Corporate song that means a lot. It just felt at that show that in Indy really magical and intimate and special. I think I've used those words before to describe that set. It was pretty incredible. I sent you a piano-only version of it. Did you have a chance to listen to that?
I did, yeah. And I love it. I mean, I'm a sucker for just anything piano
Mm-hmm.
and a voice. So that it was awesome. I really loved it.
Yeah, that was taken from the London show, the recording, but the London show he did on July 6th last year was very close to the set that he did in Indianapolis. So it was so cool to see that live stream and hear those songs done that way because, again, most of the set list was the same. It's almost exactly the same show that I got to see in Indianapolis. So it was neat to rewatch that, even though it was a slightly different show. And just a final note on live performances, Andrew's played this song twice in Instagram live streams or fan live streams, once on Instagram in March 2020, and then he played it on Camp Wilderness in June 2021. So again, I just feel like it's one that either fans request or is special enough to him to come out and play pretty commonly. So I'll ask this, is this a song that before it was a part of the inspiration for Surf Road, was it a song that you felt especially connected to?
It was a song that I've always really liked, and I
Mm-hmm.
do know I've listened to it often. It would be kind of one of those go-to songs for me. But I think definitely with the book, it kind of holds a new, more personalized meaning to me.
Sure.
And so it's definitely has probably increased in where it sits if I were to attempt to rank
Hard to
songs.
do.
So hard.
Yeah. So from a 2017 article titled Essential Andrew McMahon Tracks, here's what author Emily Roberts stated about Watch the Sky. So an opinion, obviously. Quote, a bonus track off of Something Corporate's North album, this song is pure Andrew McMahon. It features his obsession with all things outer space, beautiful piano stylings, and lyrics that make you yearn for more. The chorus speaks for itself. Although I will say she left off his affinity for, like, water as well. It also touches there
Yeah.
with the lyrics.
Totally.
So I mentioned a fellow fan, Yara, that lives in London, that she sent me some info a few years ago. She sent me this video a few years ago also, where in that same email, where Andrew was talking about the making of the song. So again, thanks, Yara. He spoke at this concert in London back then, I think it was from 2015, about how he thought it would be a good idea to do some psychedelic drugs and go sit on the roof of this house that they're recording in, and that it was a haunted house for that matter. And so he got scared. Again, he was tripping on some psychedelic drugs out on a roof. Terrible idea, everybody. Don't do this at home. And he went back in the house, and then he went in the bathroom, and he got real scared. And then he looked in the mirror and got even more scared. And he ended up in the bathtub, just kind of hiding from everything that night. Probably a good reason not to do these kind of drugs. I mean, that this might be a good story to illustrate that, but that's a matter of opinion. I'll include that video in the show notes so anybody can listen to that story that wants to. But that was just me paraphrasing it. I just thought that was kind of funny looking back. I'm sure it was scary at the time, but he woke up the next morning and he wrote this song based on that experience in part.
I mean, when I hear the song, like I definitely was wondering, is it like referencing a bad trip or is he
It is.
okay, yeah. And I could see it. But what I love about Andrew is he could take something like I've never had a bad trip off of a crazy drug, but he can make writes a song that you can relate to so well in just like your everyday life, like be it like depression or anxiety or just like grief, any kind of those things. And it's applicable. That's what I love about his lyrics.
Absolutely, because I can't relate to his story specifically, but I can relate to the lyrics in this song because it's general enough for everybody, for a lot of people to relate to, but it's also specific to like, yeah, I felt that way before. Yeah, I feel that sometimes. Yeah, it's a great quality he has. Andrew also spoke about the song in an interview with ET Online in 2017, and he said this: "I'd been partying a lot more, and I go in waves. This was in a particularly heavy period, and I had a really rough trip. And I sort of woke up in the morning and was like, okay, got to get yourself in check. And I think there's this Peter Pan type of complex that goes with the stuff. But to do what we do, we host a party every night. So there's an element of joyful celebration every night of tour that extends into other areas of life of what you do as a musician. And it's an easy thing to slip into." Kind of going back, touching back to that same story, but more general in his lifestyle at the time. But my impression from these stories that he's told, in addition to the lyrics we hear and we'll talk about in a moment, that maybe he woke up with some kind of regret from like what happened, what he did, or what he experienced, and kind of needed a reset about his use of substances, or maybe he was just feeling lost, and the drugs did help, didn't help. I don't know, but that's kind of how I take some of these quotes. Is that like he was kind of seeking something. He's thinking about the struggles in his life, and he's like, okay, now what? Now how am I going to fight this? How am I going to deal with it? How am I going to get past it? And that's how the song came out. So I told you before we started recording, there's a lot of information out there about this song because that what we've read so far, that's more than there is about most songs. So again, that just kind of goes to show that there's people are asking about the song. He's talking about the song more often than I think a lot of the Something Corporate songs. Hot take here. I don't think this should have been on the original American release of North. What are your thoughts?
Ooh, well, Steve, you know me, I don't really listen to like an entire album. I'm a shuffle girl, like
Yeah, you
kind
do. You
of
just listen to it the last track first. That's what I remember.
last track first. And, so honestly, like I couldn't tell you one way or another if it did fit or if it didn't fit.
Okay, and that's fair. So more or less, it's like it doesn't really matter if it was on North or if it was a B side or it was on Leaving Through the Window because you're going to listen to it if you like it.
Totally.
Yeah,
Exactly.
that's fair. You've heard me say this before. A lot of people listening have. I'm an album guy, and I hold North on this pedestal that I don't know. Maybe I shouldn't, but there's some albums in my life that I'm like, it's perfect as is. Don't change a thing. And so to find out about this song so many years later and think, oh, this could have been on North, and there could have been another Josh Partington song on North. Part of me is like, ooh, what was that other Josh Partington song? Like, I want to hear that too. I'm going that way a little bit, but I'm also like, yeah, North would have sounded differently to me with this song on it, and maybe I wouldn't have considered it a perfect album at the time. I don't know. Maybe Watch the Sky found me at the right place in my life at the time, or I found it, however you want to interpret that. I don't know if I would have felt the same way if I heard it on North. Again, I put this album on a pedestal, and I love it as is. I feel like there's a story in there, there's a sound to it, and Watch the Sky, in my opinion, deviates a little bit from that sound. And it doesn't make it a bad song whatsoever. It just sounds to me a little different. But again, it may be that I heard the song at a different time in my life. So, how can it sound like it belongs on North? You know what I mean?
Right. Did you say for the UK version that was it the last track? on North in the UK version?
I think, you know what? I'll look it up because I'm curious because I did say I think This Broken Heart was also on there. And so, I don't know, maybe that's a Josh song. I don't know if it is.
Because I definitely remember This Broken Heart. I remember that one from the earlier days for sure.
Okay, Watch the Sky was number 13. And if I said this earlier, I was wrong. This Broken Heart was not on that UK version. It was Unravel, which is a Bjork cover.
And I remember that song too. I think, in the times of LimeWire and Napster and that,
Hmm.
I'm pretty sure I had these on some mix of some sort.
Okay, yeah, I had never, just like the song we're talking about, I had never heard their version of Unravel. Didn't know Bjork's version either, to be fair. And I had never heard This Broken Heart up until the last couple of years. So these are just things that I missed. Again, I was paying attention to the B-sides during the Leaving Through the Window and pre-Leaving Through the Window era, but I don't know why. I think I didn't have as easy of access. I don't know what year like Napster shut down and LimeWire they started cracking down. I can't remember when all that played
Mhm.
out, but I just feel like I didn't have the access to rare tracks anymore or something, or maybe I just wasn't looking for them. And this was all pre-YouTube, of course. Yeah, I somehow missed those ones too, but it's neat to come back around. So maybe I should dive into those other two. I have the vinyl, or I could just look them up on YouTube as well. So maybe I ought to do that. Maybe if I heard them in concert, they would come to life like Watch the Sky did for me.
Yeah, This Broken Heart is probably one of my favorites as well. And I didn't hear it for a really long time. Like I had forgotten about it just
Hmm.
because it's not on Spotify. And then recently had connected with somebody who had it on, some mix or something like that. And I was like, oh my God, I know this song. Like it just took me back ages
Uh huh.
to listening to it in college. So that's pretty cool.
You're making me want to go listen to it, so I will give it another shot. Like any song, it takes a few times. I think. I mean, there are those rare songs where you listen to it once and you're like, oh my gosh, I love it. There's a song I heard recently, and I wasn't really familiar with the band, and from the moment I heard it, I was like, I love this song. That's rare. It's rare to feel that way about, for me at least, about a song I've heard for the first time. I feel like most songs for me take a few times through, if not many times through, to really decide if I like it or not. Again, going back to that idea, like I'm really curious as to why, I know why this didn't make it on North the American version, but then it was put on the UK version. Like I always want to know. I also addressed this with Josh in the interview, like who makes those decisions? And he's like, well, we did for in the case of Leaving Through the Window, which is what we were talking about. But we didn't talk about that with North, and now I guess we should have. So maybe if I can ever
You'll
get
have
Josh on the show again, I'll have to ask him about that and hope that that goes okay. Because actually, there's 3 songs left on North that I have not talked to him about yet that are all his. But yeah, I'm just really curious as to how, and I did make a note here, how Watch the Sky ended up on the UK version, Unravel, which is a cover by Bjork, ended up on the UK version. But what happened to that other Josh Partington track that didn't that Andrew apparently did not want to put on the album? I don't know.
right.
Maybe it became a fire escape song.
Perhaps they need to or start doing some from the vault like Taylor Swift.
Yeah.
Something corporate from the vault songs.
They sort of did with the vinyls and bringing back the 3 songs we've been talking about. But yeah, like there's obviously songs out there that were never ever released, and that would be pretty cool. But I also understand the band's position and that they don't want to ruin the legacy by really trying to release new music. About the sound of the song, this is a super energetic song. I mean, right from the get go, you're like in it. And I think you kind of alluded to that earlier when they played it in Vegas. Like you knew right away, like when it kicked in, like you could tell which song it was, right?
Right. You kind of knew immediately. And I remember looking out at the crowd and being like, everybody was just so excited. I mean,
Hmm.
everybody was so excited the whole time, but you could tell like it got a little bit amped up.
Yeah, because it's a fast song and it's kind of a hard rocking song too. It just sounded different to me with something corporate playing it versus Angel from Canada in the Wilderness. I don't know why. Like I said, I've seen it live before, Again, maybe it was just the energy of the room, or maybe it was that the last time I had seen it live, I think was just on a piano, and so it just really hit hard that night. It's a banger in concert. Let's face it. Let's talk some lyrics.
All right, let's do it.
Were there particular lyrics, like, can you think back to when you were thinking about your story and the point where you decided Watch the Sky was going to be part of your story? Was there like a specific line of the song that pertained to your character's story?
Yeah, I think definitely it's you live the life you're given with the storms outside. Some days all I do is watch the sky. And I get now that he's tripping and he's just watching the sky, but applying it to, there's just some days where you wake up and you just don't necessarily want to do anything. You don't want to get out of bed or,
Mm-hmm.
like it's a hard day.
Yeah.
And I just want to look out my window and not do a damn thing. And I kind of like how you can apply that. And some days are going to be hard, but I think toward the end of the song, there's some sort of hope that that there is like, there's things that aren't worth giving up. And
Mm-hmm.
when you can't bear to carry me, I'll fight. Like that personal struggle, be it in a relationship or whatnot. I don't know. I just
Mm-hmm.
think it's really, really powerful words.
Yeah, I think that line that you mentioned in the chorus, it always, so ever since I first heard that line that you read, you live the life you're given with the storms outside, I hesitate to even put it this way because I feel like it might be simplifying the line. But I also think about like the old saying that a lot of people use, you play with the hand you've been dealt. That's what it kind of reminds me of. Like it's
Mm.
you live the life you're given, you play with the hand that's been dealt. But I do love the visuals of the storms outside, and I don't think it was entirely completely about him watching the sky on the roof. I think he came inside. There were some things going on in his life outside that moment that he was struggling with. I think you're absolutely right. Some days all we want to do is just watch the sky. Some days we just want to like sit and process and think. But sometimes there's storms that we have to get through. To me, there's a lot in those two lines right there. It's one part of the song, but there's like so much there to me. The whole chorus to me is super special, especially the way he sings it. That's what gets me in concert is the way he sings this song live. And you can tell, like all his lyrics, but you can tell he means it. I loved singing along. I specifically remember singing along to this song when they
I
played in
do too.
Vegas.
I do too.
Yeah.
I think I remember looking at you. I think we're standing next to each other, and
Yeah.
you and I were just jumping around, going crazy.
Yeah. I remember singing, I won't let this get me, I will fight. It's so powerful. It can mean so many things to so many different people wherever they are in their lives. And I mean the whole chorus. I'll just read through the whole chorus. I'm sorry. I'm just going to backtrack here. So, and I will crawl. There's things that aren't worth giving up, I know. But I won't let this get me. I will fight. You live the life you're given with the storms outside. Some days all I do is watch the sky. Such a powerful chorus. Like of all Ainger choruses, this one's up there. I mean, in terms of the lyrics contained within it. It just feels so real to me.
I'll also say I love the way he says Wonderland. There's like this inflection in his voice. I don't know if inflection is the right word or not, but he's singing it and it's just I don't know, it just is like captures me.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the things about his lyrics is how he's so poetic because when I originally kind of heard this, you think like Wonderland. Is it a place? Is it this dreamland? Is it like, are you sleeping in this dream?
Mm-hmm.
Or is it now I get it. It's kind of like a trip, like you're Alice in Wonderland.
Yeah.
You're often in this place.
I've honestly never noticed that word in this song before. How crazy is that?
Go back and listen to it. It's
Yeah,
I love it.
I do need to because I had to sing it in my head. After you said that, I'm like, where is that in the song? I'm like, oh, okay, I see it on paper right now. And I think I can hear it in my head because I had to sing the line before that in my head to get a sense of what that sounded like. Yeah, it is pretty unique the way he sings that. I do hear it in my head right now. I want to talk about how the song starts because I have some thoughts about the first lines of the song that don't really pertain to any of the stories that we've heard in this episode about what quotes from Andrew, let's say, but I have some thoughts on it. At the beginning of the song, he sings, "I'm lost at sea. The radio is jamming, but they won't find me. I swear it's for the best, and then your frequency is pulling me in closer till I'm home." The lost at sea reference could mean a lot of things, obviously. There's a lot of ways to interpret that. But again, going back to something I said earlier, I get the impression he's feeling lost at this point in his life, and he's trying to find himself. But the next part is what I find more interesting because, again, it doesn't really pertain to anything else that we've talked about so far. The radio is jamming, but they won't find me. It was like literally within this past year that I found out what he was singing there. And it may have been the June concert. I don't know. The radio is jamming, but they won't find me. I was like, okay, what's he talking about? Do you think he was referring to the fact that his songs weren't really played on the radio, or he's never really had like a huge, at least at that point, a huge radio hit? Is that what he's getting at, or do you interpret that differently?
I was envisioning that he's literally on a boat and like his little radio that you would click to like talk to the Coast Guard or something
Okay,
is
that
like
makes a whole lot more
jammed.
sense now.
That's kind of what I thought that
No,
like
you just cleared it up for me. No, that makes this fits with okay. That fits with the theme. Got it. All right, go ahead. I'm sorry.
no, that's or the other way I have also kind of thought of it is like he's lost at sea and the radio's jamming, like it's playing a banger and he's having a good time and he's like, no one's gonna find me. Like I'm
Like
lost,
he
but
doesn't want
I'm
to be
here.
found.
I'm jamming out to the music. So I've always envisioned it could go kind of two ways.
Like, please don't get me rescued. Right.
Oh my gosh.
Tying it
Yes.
back to the last song we
Yeah.
talked about. No, I really like your interpretation there, but it's funny because I interpreted it so differently, and I realized, yeah, that is not how what I said is definitely not what he meant. Like the what you said makes actual sense in the context of the rest of the lyrics. So that's yeah, thank you for clearing that up. That's awesome, actually. Now I get the meaning of the first verse.
Because I think then like yeah, like the frequency on your boats, you kind of turn the dial to get on the right frequency to talk to different people.
Yep,
That's probably what would lead me to think that jamming would mean like it's
it's
stuck.
jammed. Yeah,
He's not
jamming
listening to
means
music.
yeah, probably not. He's not partying or wondering why he's not on the radio. That's not where he's going with this because now with that in mind, the next lines give me this picture of like a cartoonish like person lost like on a desert island. And I've been up for days. I finally lost my mind and then I lost my way. I'm blistered, but I'm better and I'm home. Like he's made a home out there while being lost is home.
Right.
Is
And
is
this
is the way I'm interpreting that right now.
totally. And like the sun has just been pounding down on you and you're
Hmm.
burnt and lost.
And then we get into the chorus, and then that second verse that we talked about with the with Wonderland. That again, that's something I miss too. So I always learn. I love having guests on this show because I always learn things about the songs. Like I could read through these lyrics but not notice things. What are your thoughts on the bridge? So the bridge, I think I could use a little break.
Yeah, that part to me is like I kind of like it. I feel like it is like gives you permission to take some time to find yourself,
Mm-hmm.
to breathe a little and so you have good days, you have bad days. And it's just the last line of it though, it's a deep sea on which I'm floating. Still I sink to think that I must. And then it goes into yep, crawl.
Yeah,
It
I
goes
love the way
right.
he sings that. That is
Yeah.
that transition is so cool. So the lines you just read, I love that. Still, I sink to think that I must crawl.
And
That one gets me in the heart every time.
right, you just like envision someone who's going whatever you're going through, and you're just like pulling yourself to get to wherever you want to be or need to be. And that's what I like about the song. As like in a weird way, it seems hopeful. It's like it's a
Oh,
hopeful song to me.
It does. It ends on a hopeful note, actually, and it's not just the ending that does that. I think you're right. I've gotten that impression too. Like it's a fighting song. You brought up swim earlier, and I want to come back to that. I'm gonna make it. It's really hard sometimes, but I'm gonna make it. I mean, he ends the song after the last some days all I do is watch the sky with, again, today was a good day. He's ending on a positive note, like there are storms outside. It's really hard sometimes, but today was a good day, and I'll take the win. I really appreciate that, but I have the same impression you do. I think it's actually a positive song. It's we're fighting. You know, everybody's got some battles in their lives. We're all fighting something at different given times, but we got to remember that there's good days in here too. You know, despite the fact that I don't have the long time history with this song, kind of alluded to this earlier. This chorus is just so special to me. What it means to people, what it means to me in my life, and again, it's so easily applicable, no matter what the thing I'm facing is. So you talked about swim earlier. Let's go back to that idea. Yeah, he does reference it's a deep sea on which I'm floating, and then he mentions sinking, whereas in swim he talks about,
Swim for your life,
yeah, swim for your life.
swim for the music. When you're not so sure you'll survive, kind of like that's still like you, there's that permission to keep going,
Mm-hmm.
in a sense, when things feel really low or really, really bad.
Yeah,
You will crawl. You will, I won't let this get me. I will fight. You've got to
yeah,
swim. Like kind of that perseverance. Like
right,
just keep going.
yeah.
That's
It's interesting. Again, I never would have put these two songs together, but I do hear the same theme, which is a good thing. I think that's a neat way to, and I know Andrew's talked about how he can only write from the things that he knows. So we hear space and sky and water, but he can explore different themes. And sometimes he writes the themes that he knows, but uses these different visuals to paint the picture in a different way. And so I think that's what he's doing here. Are they the same song? Are they similar? Not really. Same or similar theme? I think so.
yeah.
In those songs, let's see. Well, I guess they were written a pretty good time apart, right? Because North came out in '03, Glass Passenger came out in '08. They're pretty far apart. And let's face it, very different life experiences of his led up to those songs,
Hmm.
but similar themes of writing what he knew about struggling in life. But yeah, just this idea of being lost, being lost, needing to find his way back home, struggling through the fight, good days, bad days. Do you have a favorite line of the song, a particular favorite line?
Yeah, I think it's probably the chorus, but also just that last part that I had read earlier. You live the life you're given with the storms outside. Some days all I do is watch the sky.
My favorite part is slightly different, but pretty close. It's that part we read earlier. Still I sink to think that I must, and then he goes crawl. There's things that are in that last chorus. The whole last chorus is it for me.
Mm,
Like, but starting with those lines, it's so powerful in concert. When I hear that now, I think of all of us singing it in Vegas. I think of a bunch of people in Indianapolis singing it together. I just think of those moments in concert. I'm actually getting chills just thinking about that line in concert. It's such a powerful moment. You know, I'll have to listen to this song. I'll have to stream this song again after we're done because I want to see if I feel that when it gets to that point. I think I do, but I think it's more special when you see it live, when you see it happening in front of you. That's my favorite part. That leading into the final chorus and the whole final chorus. Well, we talked earlier about the meaning of this song in your book. You said earlier this song does have a different meaning to you now, based upon the fact that it means something to your character. And we kind of touched on that theme. I think we touched on that theme last time we talked too with Rescued, whereas you had your own personal connection to the song, but now the song means something a little bit different to you.
yeah, like these characters kind of just become stuck in your head. They sort of become like a friend in a
Mm-hmm.
weird way. And, I have a lot of songs just in real life that I relate back to friends or moments with other people. And so this song definitely sits with me with this character.
It's neat that it can mean something special. The song has been something special to you for years. and now that it's become part of your life in a different way. And although I can't relate to writing characters, I can imagine that becomes pretty significant when you think about these characters and what their lives are like. What's important to them. And now when you hear the chorus to Watch the Sky, maybe you think about that main character. What's his name?
His name's Eamon.
Eamon. Okay. Well, like I said, I mean, I've said this throughout the episode, but I'll say it again. This song's obviously grown on me over the last few years, and now it holds a pretty special place in my heart. I don't know if it's one of my favorite songs by Andrew McMahon. I can't say that exactly, but it's definitely moved way up in the catalog for me. It's these neat, rare opportunities that I have to find these songs that are new to me, that I didn't know about before, like I said earlier. Any artist I enjoy, if I could uncover a track that I didn't know existed from years ago by them, from an era where I also loved their music, that would be really special. And that's what happened with Watch the Sky. So when I see this song in concert, it still sounds like a new song to me, which is pretty cool. Even though, again,
That
I technically saw it in 2011, but
yeah, yeah, that's really cool. I like that.
so let's go back to one of Andrew's quotes earlier. Andrew says this is one of the best something corporate songs. He's also said this is one of his favorite songs he's ever written. What are your thoughts on that?
I mean, I do love the song and it's probably a top song for me, but I'm also a very like my top songs change
Hmm.
based off where I'm at in life or what I'm going through or what I'm trying to relate to. But so right now at where I'm at, it's definitely a top song for me.
Yeah, and I understand that too. That it's very hard to rank your favorite songs. Like if someone asks you to rank, what are your favorite songs? What are your favorite Andrew songs? It's not
Right.
easy to do.
It's like, well, what am I supposed to be? You want to know my songs when I'm happy, when I'm mad, when I'm sad?
Yeah, let
So
me give you a
yeah.
playlist for
Yeah.
all those different emotions. There's one for every facet of my life. How about that?
Exactly.
Pick the one you
Exactly.
want. Let's talk about the soundtrack to your new book. So we've talked about Watch the Sky. There's a little bit of variety on here again. I saw The Used. What song was that? I don't know that song.
Oh, all that I've got.
I don't think I know that one. I'm not a real big The Used fan. I don't dislike their music. If it's on like an album track, I wouldn't know it.
It's an older song. I actually honestly don't know any of their newer stuff really.
Hmm. And then one that I am familiar with was All American Rejects. Is it Dance Inside?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good one. I love that whole album. That Move Along album. I love that whole album. So I recognized that one immediately. I listened to the soundtrack before we got in touch again. And then Angels and Airwaves, I love their whole catalog. I'm a really big Angels and Airwaves fan.
I like their stuff too.
Remind me which song that was. I only noted the bands here. I forgot to write the song names.
It was Breathe.
I don't recognize that by title. And then Mayday Parade, I'm a fan of them. The Academy is a band actually that I've kind of put on my list to listen to because that's one of those bands that I completely missed in that era. Other people who are into something corporate and Jack's Mannequin and Andrew McMahon in the Wilderness have recommended that artist to me. And they're going to be on the cruise.
Ugh.
And actually, the lead singer, William Beckett, opened for Andrew when I saw them in Chicago last year. I feel like it's an artist I should be familiar with, but I've listened to some songs that I enjoy by the Academy but I did not know who they were a year ago.
I like a bunch of their stuff. Yeah, I think they have like kind of that same vibe, like you're saying, with
Hmm.
something corporate.
And then you can't go wrong with Dashboard Confessional. I was actually just listening to a Dashboard song earlier. I was listening to Again I Go Unnoticed. So
Oh, I love that one. Yeah, I love Dashboard.
yeah, yeah, they're great. You got to see the Hello Gone Days tour last year, right?
Yeah, got to see Dashboard with Andrew. Yeah, that was a great show.
Yeah, I'm so glad they toured together. That was like a dream right there, like a dream lineup.
And they both headlined, so it was like
Yeah, yeah,
full
full Dashboard
sets.
show, full Andrew show. So I can only assume there's more books in the Fire Island series coming then.
Yeah, so I'm working on the fourth book right now. It'll be another friend who's been in the first three books.
Hmm.
And so I haven't announced that character yet,
Okay.
but I'm working on that and I'm hoping to release that this year. And then I still have a couple more people that I feel like I need to write about. So the little Fire Island group is hopefully sticking around. I've been having a lot of fun
Yeah.
writing and just having this creative outlet. And so, yeah, I'm gonna keep going as long as I can.
To create this world of characters and like we talked about earlier, the characters probably feel so important to you, it sounds like, and in the world too. And it's like you can probably, like Andrew as a songwriter, you can picture these places and this world that they live in and these things that they're doing. And I don't know, do you dream about it? Like it's
Yeah, I don't quite dream about it. I do wake up sometimes and I'm like, oh, I have like this epiphany. And
oh cool.
sometimes I just get stuck figuring out what's going to happen next,
Mm-hmm.
and then it kind of just comes to me washing dishes or, like these
Yeah.
random spots. And I'm
Right.
like, oh, I need to write that down because then as fast as it comes, I lose it. So I have lots of notes on my phone. Oh, it's just
Uh-huh.
covered with notes. And then this idea, and maybe this needs to happen, and make sure to remember to talk about this. So yeah, they definitely kind of get stuck in my head. Like I know what their houses look like and
Mm-hmm.
where their beds are. It's just very weird, like kind of just stuff that is not normal to like information to keep in your head. But yeah, it's been really fun.
That's cool. Well, and maybe one day a movie or a TV series based upon Fire Island.
That would be so cool. That'd be
Yeah,
awesome.
yeah. Well, with the two that I've read, I can definitely envision the stories coming to life. So, but the way you write, like something I've said about Andrew's songs, it's very visual. So, like I right now as we're talking about it, I can see the characters, at least what I think they look like, and I can see some of the places that they go and the things that they're doing. So, it's pretty neat to have that. You're very talented. So keep it up, and I'll look forward to reading more.
Thank you, Steve. I
Yeah.
appreciate it.
Absolutely. And I know we've had other guests on the show that have enjoyed your books, and one got to meet you in Vegas, so that was pretty cool.
Yeah, that was awesome. Hi,
Yeah.
Lindsay.
Yeah. Well, thanks everybody for listening to the show, and a special thanks again to Hazel for returning for a third time to join the podcast again. It's always a nice chat. And good luck with your new book. And thank you for, again, hanging out in Vegas. I really hope we can do it again sometime. All of us get together. Until then, you live the life you're given with the storms outside. Some days all I do is watch the sky.